SIVA. It's one of those things that the Destiny community just can't let go of, can they? They just constantly look up at anything red and go, "Is this SIVA?" Well, finally, yes, this is SIVA. Allow me to tell you about—
You start getting excited, we gotta go!
Yeah, okay, Rocco's right. Let's get on with this. Hey everybody, it's your buddy Beard Grizzly, and we gotta go fast to cover all the information I have here today. I'm sure a bulk of you have taken in and seen most of the information about Aramis and the Fallen from the other big names, because let's face it, they're larger than me, and they can afford to talk about topics like that slowly. Meanwhile, I try to vary what I have. That's precisely what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna make this as memey as I can, because SIVA can consume, enhance, replicate all the memes. When you're using Outbreak Perfected, you're not hitting them with SIVA mites, you're hitting them with meme mites. Okay, that might have gone too far. Instead of covering one topic from the Outbreak Perfected lore tab and what the weapon incites, we're going to cover all of it. It just so happens I already made myself a list, so here we go. Let's go in a bit of an order here. What is SIVA? SIVA was created during the Golden Age by our Weyland-Yutani analogs by the name of Clovis Bray. They decided it would be a great idea to have an organism, or what's the word?
Nanomachines, son!
Yes, thank you, Senator Armstrong. Appreciate you. Nanomachines. That's pretty well what SIVA is. Clovis Bray was trying to figure out a way to have a biotechnology to constantly replicate things. This was mainly due to sending colonists out past our solar system in order to colonize other planets. It's pretty well exactly as it sounds. The nanomachine is able to constantly replicate, consume enhancing material in order to turn it into a form that's accepted by the user, and then enhance on that general protocol. If you've ever heard someone joke about consume, enhance, replicate, then this is where that comes from. Granted, I guess the order's a bit out of order on my end, but still the point stands. The issue is that no one told Clovis Bray that they should probably install an off switch. They also gave the use of this system and its control to Rasputin, which, of course you want to give the matter-consuming nanomachine to the control of an AI that's an infant and effectively says, "Here, have fun!" That's simplifying it, but that's just about what happened. On a couple serious notes, SIVA was given to a couple colony ships before they went off to wherever they were going in the galaxy. This causes us to wonder if any of the colony ships we sent out in the Golden Age actually made it outside of our system in the first place, and if any of those ships had SIVA in their holds. The main reason this could be a problem is thanks to how SIVA might integrate with that planet, and how it may just completely eradicate the planet's ecosystem. Big yikes, basically. There was also a game that Bungie produced for us that was more like a text-based game, I guess. Every so often they would release a new entry in this system they entitled Owl Sector. You can actually still find the website for this as well if you do a search for just Owl Sector on Google. It's there, trust me. It was a precursor to the SIVA outbreak that we had to face in Rise of Iron, and it was a nice way to usher SIVA in by finding a way to kill its predecessors. I've covered this already several times in the past, but that's your oversimplification for events. Then comes the Iron Lords. The Iron Lords crack open the SIVA vault in Russia, which we call the Plague Lands now, and they just create a huge mess. After discovering the troubles with SIVA and the dangers it presents, they unify and march on Rasputin's holds of SIVA with the intent to destroy it. Well, Raspi doesn't like this, and so he turns SIVA against the Iron Lords. This leads to the point where Lord Saladin is pretty well the last Iron Lord that we know of for some time, and later on Aphrodite shows up again and says, "Hey, hi, not dead, just making sure that you don't think that." She really was just that way, huh? Then we come to those events that I mentioned earlier on the Owl Sector and junk. Yeah, just junk. Lots of Clovis Bray junk. We end up getting sent out to the Iron Temple on Saladin's behalf and try to stop the Fallen from entering. When that fails, and a servitor by the name of Outbreak Prime heads out to the Cosmodrome and starts messing up the Plague Lands again, we find out that a new breed of Fallen exists, now called the Splicers. They're basically the nutty guys in the movie that go, "Yes, the evil technology shall reign, Cobra forever," or something. We're rolling with it, don't stop me here. The splicers themselves almost require a video, which I never had a chance to actually make back in the day, to be honest. Funny enough, because Rise of Iron was really when I started to make content. That's ironic. The only reason I say this is thanks to some of the major ones involved. One was the Archon Prime, known as Axis, who had spider legs. He was more like a mech in armored core than he was anything else. Now I want to make a mech that looks like Axis, or Axis into a mech. This is complicated. So with the last Iron Lord around and no other being created at all in Rise of Iron, Saladin, we put things to a close on the SIVA debacle. Totally kidding. Shirafor is the name of a very skilled kit basher and gunsmith. He likes two things, gathering information and killing Fallen. Well, okay, he likes more than that, but those are the two pastimes that he seems to have. You know, I still miss Trespasser. I don't know about all of you. I need my Robocop gun back. Shiro gives us two major weapons of note within Rise of Iron. The first is a redone model of a weapon gifted to those that survived the Battle of Twilight Gap, called Yallarhorn, and the other was called Outbreak Prime. Well, he also gives us the Trespasser, and Kvastov 0GX. Okay, he gave us a lot of equipment, actually. Yallarhorn and Outbreak Prime were the two main special ones to note. They both were injected with and used SIVA, both at varying degrees. Yallarhorn perhaps less so, but the argument was made the Wolfpack rounds that it fired, the little Seekers afterward were the modified launcher tech from the SIVA itself. It generally matches up with what the Outbreak Prime's little nanites attack combatants after they spawn from enemy skulls. No, like literally, that's what happens. It's almost like a person's brain matter is turned into weaponized attack bugs. It's a really terrible image I just gave myself. We're focusing pretty heavy on Outbreak Prime since that's really where a lot of new information for SIVA comes in. We're unsure what happened with the weapon after we had it. We know that only one was ever seemingly created, so the issue comes down to this. Did we give Rahul the gun after a period of time and before the Red War? Or did he end up going into our vault and taking the thing from us? Either way, Rahul, how much of my stuff do you have? What is wrong with you? Do you know how helpful that would have been against anything I fought over the last year and a half? Do you? Tell you what, no matter which way I want to look at this, I'm still just not thrilled with the blue jerk, making me think he really did have Master Ives killed off. Then again, the Thunderlord quest might be the exact segue we need to talk about, considering the group of Fallen that might be involved in all of the stuff that led on and happened with that quest. This is where we bring up Aramis, by the way. Aramis hasn't been quite relevant for a while since she was locked up inside the Prison of Elders. She was a Baroness for House Devils, which is the main house of the Fallen that caused us great issue over the course of the Dark Ages and early City Age, until the Battle of Twilight Gap, where Saint 14 headbutted the Kell of Devils named Sulcus. We were assaulted by this house pretty well daily. Even after the Battle of Twilight Gap, they were the main house that caused us issues on Earth. They were the main house that investigated and found SIVA as well, which is why they were called the Devil Splicers. All of this is a roundabout way to say Aramis was stuck in prison while the gang was out causing issues and looking for scraps. I could say some other things in the criminal manner, but some of you probably have seen enough cop shows to know what I mean by this, and to know that I would be demonetized if I ended up saying it. Of course, there was a prison break that happened several months back, and so Aramis was one of the gals left out of prison. It wasn't just Aldrin, after all. Makes you wonder, actually, how many more were stored in there under maximum security or something. Varix just hit the button and said, "Happy Hunger Games, yes." It's all fun and games until someone loses a Cade. Wait, what? We do our thing in Forsaken, meanwhile the system still turns. There's still stuff going on that we aren't in circle about, like Aramis. She starts to work on a force of Fallen again, creating a new coming of the House of Devils. We see this information in a piece of stolen intelligence from the entry called Outliers. I'll read this part over to make sure we're caught up together. VIP number 2029, a once-known personality known as Aramis, or Aramis the Shipstealer, a House Devils Baroness incarcerated during the Wolf Wars. Number 2029 successfully fled the Prison of Elders during the mass escape orchestrated by 1121. 2029 is a classical fallen pirate of the old ways, vicious, uncompromising, and possessing cunning of the highest degree. Field reports indicate that she is rallying violent dissidents to construct House Devils from the ground up. This agent believes her to be the most viable candidate for Universal Fallen reunification and would urge the Vanguard and other interested leaders to aggressively prioritize her destruction. 1121 is considered Varix at this point, by the by. So with House Devils, the guys that harrowed us for possibly centuries earlier, starting to rise up, the question is how long the push will last, especially with the other Fallen in play, like that of Mithrax, the Fallen that rendezvous with us at the farm to start the mission for Outbreak Perfected, and Varix, off doing this thing with the house that he's claiming to be Kell of Kells for. I mean, it's been a long time coming to begin with, that Varix will eventually betray us and go help his people. All in all, the two mechanical-armed Elixni had always made his intentions known. His main goals were always his people, no matter what that ended up meaning, either under Moristald's command or someone else's. Whoever could unify him, that's all he cared about. So with that filled in, let's go back to the Thunderlord quest chain. We were unsure who we were fighting within the missions themselves. I think many of us started to feel it was the Kells Scourge house that we started to see a black armory after they started to pop up, but I'm starting to put money on Kiklas being part of the revived House of Devils. It would make sense. Kiklas goes back to the Cosmodrome to possibly try and recover some SIVA. I mean, that seems to be the ultimate goal of the revived House Devils anyway, especially when we look at what their ultimate goal is for the assault on the city's tower and the Cryptarch Vaults. I mean, they could have picked Mars if they wanted to go back to the source and, well, maybe they still did and we just didn't see it. Oh boy. Regardless, the first time the Devil Splicers figured out how to use SIVA, they had to reverse engineer SIVA to make it work for their physiology. I'm sure if they had a piece of it again, they would try to do so. Enter Mithrax, the Fallen that seemingly wanted to ally with us since that fateful mission on the moon of Titan in the Arcology. He said, "Hey, you guys are pretty cool, so you can have this fusion core. Light be with you," or whatever your phrase is. "Also, don't shoot me." And so off he went to whatever Fallen hideout he went to, or we shot him dead and he miraculously came back, along with a couple Guardians, eventually. Both the Lord of Wolves and the Queensbreaker lore tabs show us two entries that refer back to Mithrax and his fallen name of Misrax. In Queensbreaker, he claims his overall goal is to work for us to protect the Traveler. No more ideas of split combat or who's worthy. His ultimate idea is to help the Traveler, just as we do. He hopes that other open-minded Fallen will join his cause. This is the first time that we hear of this House of Light created by Mithrax and a select few. And so this leads us to the entry that we now have with the Outbreak Perfected, which is our final topic. No, the gun, not the entry. We actually just got done talking about the entry with Aramis and all that. She was the big deal in it, really. Well, that and Mithrax finally coming forward and being a sneaky devil. Literally, guy dressed up in House Devil's garb just to blend in. Oh boy, he's gonna get some heat for that one. The fact we have Outbreak Perfected back in our inventory, recovered from a Cryptarch Vault, and taken from the hands of Syrinx, a loyalist of Aramis, well, it opens up several different possibilities per this point, a couple of which I would like to jump into briefly. First is the idea that SIVA is still alive and well within this weapon, but seemingly kept inside of the weapon entirely. Doesn't seem like it's spilling out or it's not contained, so on. If the Fallen could have possibly ripped some of the SIVA, or maybe all of it, out of Outbreak Perfected, could they have? And to what degree would they have ended up using it to see how far it would have ended up replicating? This could be one of the most powerful tools that the Fallen would have had, and we've already seen to what effect the Devil Splicers have used it before. Oh boy. I said it already, the Fallen had to reverse engineer and make SIVA work for them, but that's not the only place that SIVA resides. Hopefully we found and scrapped all the other traces of it, as the events in Rise of Iron would have left the Fallen largely without a stockpile of SIVA. In fact, Shirofor and Saladin seem to say as much towards the end of the campaign. It's just a wait-and-see period for the Fallen to see how long the Splicers can last, and really how much longer the splicers can even stay alive. Lastly, we see how a splicer is hanging out in the spider's den in the Cade 6 comic. This can't be a pure coincidence, and I wonder if this Fallen might join up with Aramis now that she has broken out of the prison of elders. Though, the splicers were considered fanatical. Then again, in all reality, most of the Fallen feel like that's all they have left, I'm sure. The spider gives them a bit of hope in one direction, Varric's might another, Civic's another. Fallen champions and figureheads are starting to fall down faster than before. With a species that's on the brink, I can only guess the way things will go if they don't unify in some way soon, and how they might be triumphant at that. The question is, will we be merciful enough? Or are we really not that strong enough to take out the Fallen anymore? I know we started out pretty meme-heavy and ended on a somber note. It's just how these things go sometimes. I wanted to sum up as much of the information as I could. The path of SIVA, the twists it's taken. As much as it's about a Golden Age nanomachine, it's largely about a species in ruin, and a species that's desperate to survive. It continues with Aramis. The question is if it will end with her. I have one more thought on this, one more thing that requires a revisit. After all, perfection isn't something related to only SIVA. For now, that's where I'll leave things. I truly hope you got something out of this, as funny and goofy as I tried to make it, and understood most of it. I'll be in the comments if you need any extra clarification on anything, since again, I know this is more of a brief overview of everything, is more of a catch-up. I know I skipped over a lot of world building, but if you're looking for the overview of SIVA, I think we did a fairly good job today. If you guys would like to hear more from me, you know the buttons to press, and I ask you to press them as YouTube has been a total dingus to me in the last month. Otherwise, no matter when or where you are, I'll see you next Spacetime. Take care.